Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on January 23rd, 2022 at approximately 9:22 a.m. PST. Time to get on with life. The first thing when you get up in the morning, okay, we'll start that over. This is a live recording, by the way. So what that means is when I get done this recording, I go back, I double check to make sure I got the date right, and I post it as is. As you may have seen yesterday, that ended up resulting in a two-part recording because I managed to shut the recorder off at one point and just decided to carry on and not bother redoing it. Anyway, the reality is I came back here. I came back to this life for one primary reason, and that is to pass on a very simple message that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I've done my best to stay out of things for the better portion of my life, which was undoubtedly a mistake. Okay, I probably should have been more involved. Net result is I became extremely reclusive and still am to this day. Heck, I've been reclusive since, about a decade before this whole mess started. But, okay, in order to change this world, in order to get the energy running in the right direction, we have to work together. Now, I noticed a post on Facebook the other day, okay, where the truckers are getting, they're working together, trying to get food, trying to get stuff from one end of the country to the other, and they're running into obstacles left, right, and center. We talk about supporting the military, supporting supporting the so-called first responders. But like I've mentioned in the past, we forget about the other first responders, which happen to be the people that are raising the families. Those are first responders. They handle the first of everything the kid runs into, if at all possible. But the other people that we've overlooked, people have mentioned the workers in the grocery stores and what have you. But, the sad reality is you're going to overlook some people. In my case, I'm looking at this going, where the truckers are involved. If it weren't for them, most of the stuff that we get around the country and much of the stuff around the world wouldn't get there. Okay. And I mean, they drive in some pretty horrendous conditions. Right. Now, I have no idea what the pay scale is like, so I'm just not going to worry about that for the moment. Okay, but I will tell you that with the majority of them, certainly there are some that are a little bit off kilter, but with the majority of them, they do a job that, frankly, is really difficult and absolutely critical to the running of virtually every country that is so-called First Nation, or is so-called a first world country. The truckers are the ones responsible for getting most of our food around. Now, of course, attached to them, you do have your people operating the freight trains and the shipping and the freight ships, the freighters. There we go. But this is a group of people that we tend to overlook way too frequently. Okay. And it is in, when you think about it, these are the people that really need a big thumbs up. A big thumbs up, a big high five, whatever you choose. Okay, I know years ago, it was quite the sight to see truckers going down the road. You'd see two truckers passing on the highway, and it was almost invariable. They'd blow a horn at each other. Not in anger, but just as a way to say hi. Okay, these are people that, quite frankly, if it weren't for them, much of the stuff that you get, much of that stuff the people are so attached to, that materialistic stuff, much of it wouldn't get there. Okay, many of the small stores that we have, we talk about the big stores getting shipping and what have you, and they absolutely get the shipping there. But even the little guys, even the local stores, get things shipped in by trucks. Not always your 30 or 40-foot boxes. I'm talking about the people that are also driving the little cube trucks. This is what I mean by we have to really start noticing the positive stuff. Make a big deal out of it. It's these people that are making it extremely necessary, extremely beneficial, extremely easy for us. Lord knows half the stuff I get, without the truckers, I couldn't get it. Without the delivery people, I couldn't get it. And yes, I did just drop the delivery people into the same bin as the truckers because they do the same job. But the truckers are the ones that are on the highways that are in the real dangerous situations. You think back a couple of months when we had the landslide on the Coquihalla up here in the Rockies in BC, right, up in Canada. It's the truckers that run that road on a regular basis. Now, frankly, I've been on that road years ago, and it was going downhill then. So you have to give these people, it would be really nice to give these people a little bit more credit for what they're doing. I've been on the road just myself, right, where people have cut me off. Well, the thing we have to realize is that if you're driving down the road and there's a semi you're going that is approaching you, or you're coming up behind a semi, whatever you do, don't cut the semi off. Don't cut the trucker off. No matter how good he is, if he's dragging a 40-foot box, and you pull out in front of him with only a car length to work, no matter how attentive he is, no matter how good he intends to be, that vehicle is not stopping before it hits you. Okay, in all likelihood, you're going to end up causing the problem. Now, this is one of these things that people forget. Remember when you're driving down the road and you see these truckers, if you're following one, there's a very simple rule of thumb. If you cannot see one of their mirrors, doesn't matter which one, but if you're so close you can't see one of their mirrors, they can't see you. Okay. Now, I know they came up with some neat technology in Japan because of their roads, where semis are actually equipped with a camera that actually relays what they're seeing on their back panel. So that as a driver, you can see what's in front of the semi when you go to pull out and pass. But you got to remember when you're going out to pull out and pass, give enough room to get by the semi. If you go in too quick and you cut right off in front of him, you're asking for a problem. Okay, not intentionally in all likelihood, but the reality is semis cannot go uphill as fast as you may like, and coming downhill, they're not going to be able to brake as fast as you would like. So you, as a driver, have to realize, okay, just picture yourself in a vehicle that is way too big, that is really large, really heavy, you're packing heavy load. Ask how you feel when somebody cuts you off. The same thing applies with the semis. Now, there is a downside to this, because I've seen some, and it's rare, but once in a while, I see a semi-driver or a construction driver that drives very poorly, okay, that will cut people off. Or, we'll pull out in front of them when it's too close even for them. Okay, the truckers have a responsibility as well, but we have to realize that those vehicles are huge. They do not stop as fast as a subcompact, no matter how you would like it to. Okay, so really take a look. Like, I make a point of it if I'm going into a store, if I stop in a parking lot and there's a trucker out there that's making a delivery, I make a point of thanking that trucker for his help, for doing the job. But this is me. I mean, from my standpoint, it really boils down to this. They're doing a job that I cannot do. I thought about it when I was a kid. It was one of the few jobs I looked at and went, gee, I wouldn't mind doing that. Of course, I understand I've been reclusive most of my life. So I looked at it going, that'd be a nice job. You get into a truck, you drive, you're on the road, you're away from people. For me, that was great until it dawned on me that was a bad idea because I can get lost in the city I live in. I've lived in this city for 35 years and I still get lost in it. So you can see why I didn't go into trucking. And of course, as it turned out, a bad leg didn't help. But when you're dealing with these truckers, when you're dealing with these delivery drivers, remember they're the ones that are moving the stuff around for you to be able to buy at all. And this is why it is absolutely imperative that you treat them with respect. Realize if it weren't for them, that material stuff that you desire to have, you wouldn't be getting. Okay, because it wouldn't be there. Now, I am a firm believer on that little note. I am a firm believer that you shop local, buy from the people that are in your neighborhood because those are your neighbors. Those are the ones that you're going to rely on. If you run a business, it's the local people that are going to support your business. It's the regulars that are going to support your business. Okay. Now I see I take a look at some of the places that trucks go. That these truckers get their vehicles. I'm looking at it going, I wouldn't try and put a car in there, never mind a semi. Okay, these guys most of them have phenomenal driving capabilities, especially compared to regular drivers. Okay, but take a look at the people that are out there. Now, I was talking to a gentleman one day. I had been involved in an accident, and what the insurance adjuster told me, it was found that because I got rear-ended, it was absolutely the other guy's fault. But he said something rather intriguing. He says, legally, there is no question this guy and the other guy is responsible. But he says, the thing you have to realize is that in any accident, even if you're being rear-ended, it is half your fault. I looked at him and I says, can you explain how that works? He says, yeah. He says, if you think about it, yes, if the guy rear ends you, he's traveling too close. This is why they have that funny little 2-second rule. But that 2-second rule is given that you're driving at a lower speed. Okay, if you're doing 100 and, 2 seconds, you gotta remember, 2 seconds is for every speed, really. But if you're driving 2 car lengths behind, that may be a great amount of room if you're only doing 5 kilometers an hour. If you're only a car length behind, if you're only 2 car lengths behind and you're doing 70 miles an hour, or 70 kilometers an hour for that matter, which is a lot less. Okay, frankly, you're going to run into troubles because you don't have the time to stop the vehicle in the first place. Safety, when it comes to working on this world, again, is a question of we have to work together. If you're driving too close, we went off track a little there. What the insurance adjuster said was, if you see a guy on the side of the road, okay, now, yes, he may cut you off, but you drive by and he pulls out behind you. Keep an eye on your rear view mirror. Yes, he is responsible. He's the one that will get in trouble if he rear ends you. But as the insurance agent pointed out, if you were paying a little more attention, when you see the car closing, you can either possibly shift out of the way a little, okay, to avoid that accident, avoid him running into you. Okay, and absolutely, like the insurance adjuster said, it's the driver in back, it's their responsibility to make absolutely certain that they give themselves enough room to maneuver. Okay, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't pay attention. I know there was one accident I was involved in. I was stopped at a stoplight. And if I hadn't been watching my rear view mirror, I would have been really badly hurt. I was driving a GLC at the time, a little four door hatchback, right? And I saw this Caprice, which is basically an old boat, right? I mean, the thing is it's a huge monster. I spotted it coming up behind me. Well, I had enough time to realize I was going to get hit. There was nothing I could do. So there was nobody in front of me. I took my foot off the brake and put my head against the headrest and got shot through the intersection. Fortunately, because of that action, I didn't suffer any serious injuries. My car, on the other hand, was right off. But this is why you've got to pay attention to your surroundings. Okay, you have to make real clear observation on that. The other rule that I've noticed many people run into, and it's not a big issue, but if you get trapped in a traffic jam, it can be. Okay, the way I was taught was if you're pulling into a lineup, no matter what the lineup, no matter why, make sure you can see the bottom of the back tires of the vehicle in front of you, regardless of what that vehicle is. That way, if they run into a problem, you've got enough room to pull out around them. If you're right up against them, and this applies to parking as well, by the way, if you're right up behind them, number one, if they have a problem, you can't get out. On the flip side of that, if you pull up right behind them or you back up right tight in front of them, they can't get out until you do. Okay, this is where that funny little thing of do unto others as you desire them to do unto you comes in. It's absolutely imperative that you treat people in a decent fashion. It's absolutely imperative you do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. You start with your home. We've talked about that a fair chunk. Okay. But when we're out in public, when we're driving, it's absolutely critical you pay attention to where things are. The other one I've noticed, okay, like when we're looking at the truckers, they have to turn corners wide. Okay, if they're making a right-hand turn, they have to pull over at least a half lane to make that right-hand turn. They are the only vehicles. Okay, well, that's not entirely correct. The semis have to do that. People dragging boats, dragging trailers, have to pull wide. Take this into consideration when you're out there driving. But the truckers have an interesting problem. They are absolutely huge. They need more room, not only going around the corner, but they need more room on the corner side, on the road side, on the lanes coming towards them, because they're going to have to go wide. Now, most truckers that I've seen give themselves a lot of room to maneuver. Okay, and they take their time doing it. There are exceptions, but on the whole, we have to look at the reality behind them. These are people that, like you possibly, these are people that often have families that they would like to get home to in one piece. You can bet your bottom dollar the massive majority of them do not like being in accidents any more than you do. Okay, the big difference, okay, where it comes to them, is if you get your car hit. Okay, you get your car hit by a semi, and that car is pretty much toasted. If a semi gets hit by the semi, it has the same problem. It's still a vehicle. Okay, so what I'm saying is absolutely take a look at these truckers. Take a look at these drivers of phenomenally heavy vehicles. Okay, and realize they need more room to get started. They need more room to stop. And definitely more room to turn. Keep this in mind while you're out there driving. And by the way, I'm talking about drivers out there, but the same thing applies to pedestrians that are trying to cross the street. Okay, understand, you may be able to get into engage it and run out in front of a car to get across the lane, to get across the road with a certain amount of room. Semis require more room. Okay. The sheer weight of their vehicle, no matter how good the trucker is, the sheer weight of that vehicle is going to carry it further. It's just not going to stop that quick. And most of these semis out there, to give you an idea, okay, if your vehicle gets damaged, most people drive vehicles that cost a couple of months' rent to buy. Okay, a trucker, their vehicles, most of them cost more than what most people pay for a house. Okay, well, used to. At this point, I don't think it's quite that bad. They certainly pay more for a vehicle than I ever will, because I just don't see the point. But this is what I'm looking at here is I'm just looking at our society has gotten so caught up in the materialistic side of things, in the immediate gratification, in the self, the self stuff. That was really a bad way to put that, but hey, I can work with it. But you have to realize, if you like going to the big box stores or to the little stores and buying stuff from them, and this applies to, by the way, even those of you with a sweet tooth that desire to get pop. It's the truckers that deliver it. Bottled water, it's the truckers that deliver it. Okay. So it's these people you have to look to really to really gauge how to go about it. Okay, these are the guys that you rely on bringing the stuff to the store so you don't have to go and find it. So treat them with the respect you desire to be treated with. And realize if it is not for those guys, and even the train, you got to remember, the truckers are also the ones bringing the groceries, bringing the snack foods. How many times do you see a trucker go down the road carrying chips and what have you? These are the people that you go and that you're trying to buy the snack food so you can fill your stomach, right, with what you like. They're the ones striving to deliver it. Now, they're also the ones that in the worst possible weather will get into and they have no real functional option. Their job is to pick up this load and deliver it from the manufacturer to the store you're going to go to, regardless of what the weather is. Okay, and they do not have this luxury of going, I don't want to go to work today. They just don't. Okay. I mean, many of them will take it, and there's a lot of stresses out there that they deal with that you never even think about. Which is why I say, pay attention to what they're up to. For me personally, I look at these rigs and go, the only time it really upsets me with the way that some very rare few drive is they end up tailgating somebody in the slow lane. And I'm not talking when they're going downhill. Going downhill is a bit of a problem. But I'm talking when they're traveling on the flat roads. Truckers aren't perfect either. Okay, I've been run off the road by a trucker not paying attention. And I know he wasn't paying attention because, frankly, I've been there all along. In the case in particular for me, I pulled into a pullout lane, which was where I was supposed to. But the trucker in front of me never bothered even looking. And I know this for a certainty because he almost ran into me and I was right beside him. Right? But this is a very rare occasion. Okay. Quite frankly, one of the biggest problems, I think, was the fact I don't recall. I don't, he didn't even, I know he didn't pull on that he didn't hit a signal light. Because the guy behind that was 2 cars behind me pulled over to make sure I was okay. I put my car in the ditch. But those truckers are so few and far between. Okay. And I've talked to truckers that have looked at that kind of driving and gone, they should not have a license. right? And, so it's not just the regular drivers that do this. Truckers do it as well, but we have to realize these are the guys that bring stuff to us. For me personally, it's the delivery people. If I don't have to leave the house and I'm going to go shopping, I rely on delivery people to bring my stuff to me. Okay. But it's absolutely imperative that we all realize that these truckers are absolutely critical to Canadian livelihood and American livelihood. I don't know about the rest of the world, but I know those two in particular are absolutely critical. And it's time people start realizing, okay, that they are absolutely imperative. Okay, do your best to give them a bit of a break. Give them the room to maneuver. This does not mean they're better than you are. This does not mean that you're better than they are. This boils down to simple logic. Their vehicles take longer to stop. It's a simple issue of mass. Okay, but give them the respect to let them do their job, so you can have the stuff you personally desire to have. Okay, absolutely imperative in my eyes. And again, when we work together, the roads will become safer. Therefore, your kids, your family, those you care about will be in a safer position. But it requires all of us working together. Okay. If you're having the reality is, if you're heading someplace, give yourself the time to get there. Okay, give yourself as much time as possible to get where you're heading. In a nutshell, slow down. Now, society itself, again, is really in the same boat. We have to, as a global community, regardless of who you are, regardless of how much money you've got, okay, regardless of any of the differentiators, it's imperative we start slowing things down and taking the time to really spend it to get to know each other. Take the time to work together, because working together, we can make this a better world for most people. Now, if you like my video, again, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and please share it with everybody possible, because it's going to take the assistance of all of you, everyone, to turn the tide on the energy in this world and turn this into a better world for virtually everybody. Now, on that note, I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to say thank you very much for joining me. I will be back again tomorrow. And until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.